We are in June 2021. In the past weeks, pro-Palestinian protests around the world erupted because of the continuous Israeli theft of indigenous Palestinian homes and because of the merciless bombings on Gaza, which has killed 220 people, including 65 children. I've seen Semitic Palestinians and their advocates being accused of anti-Semitism. The reason I'm making this video is to clear up the confusion, misinformation, manipulation, and gaslighting that's around this word. This word has been weaponized against the Palestinians who are Semites, and the real anti-Semitism is the attacks on the indigenous Palestinians. In mainstream media, you see the word anti-Semitism being used incorrectly. It's weaponized against Palestinians, ironically, who are Semites. This is not only frustrating for Palestinians, it's completely ridiculous and absurd. Here in this story, John Lemon interviewed Joseph Borgen, who is said to be Jewish. I couldn't tell just by looking at him. He has his gray hoodie covering his head. Although John Lemon said he was wearing a yarmulke, pictures we see tell a different story than what these two are trying to spin. Just as bad as mainstream media are our clueless politicians, who are often used as tools to push the Zionist narrative. Here we see another common misuse of the word anti-Semitism. Cory Booker only refers to one of the subgroups as Semites, but not the Palestinians. Both Democrats and Republicans are guilty of the chronic misuse of the word. Now, why is there a double standard? Why are only Jews considered Semites but not Palestinians? This only fuels the confusion which keeps people in a mystified state and ultimately silent on the very important issue regarding Palestine and Israel. To know what Semite means, all you have to do is open a dictionary. That's all it takes to break the Zionist spell of misinformation. So let's take a look at how Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines Semite. 1a. A member of any of a number of peoples of ancient southwestern Asia, including the Akkadians, Phoenicians, Hebrews, and Arabs. 1b. A descendant of these people. 2. A member of a modern people speaking a Semitic language. Let's take a look at the etymology of the word. It's French for Semite, from Sem or Shem, from Latin or late Latin, from Greek it's Sem, and from Hebrew and Arabic the word Shem. In fact, Arabs use the word al-Sham to describe the region that is Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, and Palestine today. So you can be a Shemite, which translates to a Semite. According to Britannica, the definition of Semite is as follows. Semite, a member of a people speaking any of a group of related languages, presumably derived from a common language, Semitic. The term came to include Arabs, Akkadians, Canaanites, Hebrews, some Ethiopians, and Aramaean tribes. Mesopotamia, the western coast of the Mediterranean, the Arabian Peninsula, and the Horn of Africa have all been proposed as possible sites for the prehistoric origins of Semitic-speaking peoples, but no location has been definitively established. By 2500 BCE, Semitic-speaking peoples had become widely dispersed throughout Western Asia. In Phoenicia, they became seafarers. In Mesopotamia, they blended with the civilization of Sumer. The Hebrews settled with other Semitic-speaking peoples in Palestine. This ancient definition is vast and inclusive of those whose origins are from the Middle East. And this is how you define Semites. We are going to take a quick look at the word anti to be clear on its use when discussing anti-Semites or anti-Semitism. Along with knowing the meaning of Semite, Semitic, or Semitism, it's important to balance it with the understanding of anti-Semitism. So let's take a look. Anti, one that's opposed, against, as a prefix, of the same kind but situated opposite, exerting energy in the opposite direction, or pursuing an opposite policy, one that is opposite in kind too. So it's fair to say that it's the mirror opposite of what we just defined. And when you go back to reflect on how the mainstream media and politicians have been using the word, we can clearly see the abuse and how silly it is. Once you have the knowledge and understanding, you can see how the weaponization of this word against Palestinians loses its effect. Their hypocrisy and double standards are clear as day. In fact, we can say that mainstream media and politicians have been anti-Semitic towards the Palestinians. It is important not to allow the confusion, misinformation, and gaslighting to continue. If Palestinians and their advocates don't take ownership of their Semitic origins now, then we can continue to let the Zionist propaganda occupy it for their own agenda. I'm Palestinian. The people of the West Bank are Palestinian. The people of Gaza are Palestinian. And yes, we are Semites. Our origins are Semitic. Just to demonstrate my point, I completed a DNA analysis with Ancestry.com. I've covered my name for privacy purposes, but you can see that I am a little over 96% Semitic. So this is proof that I am one of the descendants of the ancient Semitic civilizations of the Middle East. I have two maps here. They show where the Semitic-speaking civilizations existed. These two maps are almost identical. However, the one to the right shows what it would have looked like back in 3000 BCE. There were no borders, no boundaries, no countries. So no Saudi Arabia, no Israel, no Egypt, and so on. The word Semite is an ancient word, and it's used to define ancient civilizations that were classified by their common language. They covered the Middle East and spread throughout parts of northern Africa. Having said that, we know now that the word Semite wasn't used to group people by their nationality because countries didn't exist then, or religion because the holy books weren't given to people yet. The ancient people who spoke the Semitic languages existed way before then. The Phoenicians, the Canaanites, the Akkadians, the Aramaeans, the Arabs, the Hebrews, etc. If we really want to know who the true descendants of these ancient Semitic people of origin are, a DNA analysis would be the most accurate method to find out. Thanks to Zionism, Semites and Semitism is one of the most misused words in the English language today. What Zionism is, it is a national and political movement. It attempts to conflate religion along with origin and bind it to a nationality. It was an idea that was obsessed with establishing a Jewish state of Israel in Palestine. This movement began with Theodor Herzl in 1897. It should be said that Zionism is not Semitism. Again, Semitism is the Semitic people, and that's separate from the political and national movement. Israel claims to be a Jewish state for the Jewish people. So that connects, again, the religion to the country. And that's extremely flawed and dangerous. For example, similar to saying that all Christians are going to call Bethlehem and the area around it their own country because that's where the Messiah, Jesus, was born. Another claim of Zionists is that all Jewish people are Semitic, and this is completely flawed. It's taking the religion and connecting it to origin. And simply by converting to a religion doesn't change your lineage or your genes. So here is, again, where so much of the confusion is created. All of these ideologies coming into one, and none of them make sense. We know that religion doesn't change your heritage. Your DNA doesn't have genes for religion. Your nationality is not your religion, and your religion is not your nationality.